Can you all go on mute, please?
Yeah, just for clarity, Leader, can you tell us who's in the chamber? Certainly the cabinet members. It might appear obvious, but then again, to others, it might not be obvious. Who are the cabinet members in the chamber and any other attendees in the chamber, please? Thank you.
Thank you, Brian. Well,
present in the chamber, Councillor Jones, the leader, Councillor Bobby Feely, Councillor Mark Young, Councillor Tony Thomas, Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts, the Chief Executive and myself, and we also have a Democratic Services support staff and a translator. Nobody else is present in the chamber.
okay, Brian.
Yeah, fine. Hopefully you didn't mind me asking for that clarity, just for members and anybody else.
That's fine. Okay, good. We'll start again. Welcome to the Cabinet on the 15th of March. We'll go to the agenda. Are there any apologies? No apologies. Declaration of interest.
Members will be aware of the requirement under the Council's Code of Conduct to declare any personal or prejudicial interest in respect of any business to be conducted at today's meeting. Such interest should be declared now or as soon as the councillor affected becomes aware that they have a personal or prejudicial interest in today's business. All members declaring an interest are required to state clearly what the interest is and to advise whether it is a personal interest or a personal and prejudicial interest as defined in the Code of Conduct. Any member declaring a prejudicial interest is required to leave the chamber for the duration of the business or to leave attending remotely and can take no part in the proceedings. Members with a personal interest only may take part in the debate and any vote. If a personal and prejudicial interest is declared today that has not previously been disclosed and recorded, the councillor concerned will be required to complete and sign a declaration of interest form, which is available online.
Is that clear to everybody? Yeah, no one's raised their hands. Okay. Agenda item 3, urgent matters. No urgent matters. Agenda item 4, we'll go to the minutes of the meeting held on the 15th of February. First of all, for accuracy, page 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. We'll go back for matters arising. Page 5, 6, 7, 8. Oh, sorry, Gary.
On item 7, Leader, the proposed scheme of delegated decision making for land acquisition for carbon sequestration purposes. As members may be aware, that matter was called into scrutiny and was considered at scrutiny meeting last week. The scrutiny committee has resolved to refer that matter back to cabinet for consideration. So it will come to a future cabinet for you to consider scrutiny's recommendations.
Okay. Page 8, page 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Okay, will somebody propose that the minutes are correct, please? Who has done that? Julian seconded. I'll try and get the balance between ones here and ones not here. Okay, thank you for that. We'll move on to agenda item 5, and that's the eradication of non-recyclable goods in school catering services. And this is a report from scrutiny. So I'll ask RHYL Roberts, please, to present the report.
Diolch, Mr. Arweinydd. Ydych chi'n clywed i? Diolch yn fawr. Wel, y beth oedd y gerbronni oedd dileu y defnydd o ddefnyddiau plastig un tro o'r gwasanaeth prydau ysgol. Nid oes modd ei hailgylchu. Y bwriad yw cefnogi uchelgais y cyngor a fod yn ddi-garbon ac yn ecologol gadarnhaol erbyn y flwyddyn 2030. Yn ein pwyllgor, cafwyd cyfraniadau gwerthfawr iawn i'r drafodaeth, gan ddau ddisgybl angerddol iawn yn cynrychioli ysgol Dinas Bran, Llangollen. Ac wrth gwrs, dwi'n siŵr bod dylanwad y cynghorydd Graham Timms sydd yn gadeirydd y pwyllgor sy'n trafod newid hinsawdd a di wneud gwaith da arnyn nhw, ond oedd y ddau yn arbennig o dda ac yn gofyn cwestiynau dwys a chall. Mi welwch chi yn atodiad 2 o'r adroddiad bod yna wariant mawr wedi digwydd, mi fydd yn digwydd os oedden ni'n mynd mlaen efo hyn. Fysa'n costio 37,000 i holl ysgolion uwchradd i ddileu defnydd o defnyddiau plastig un tro. A dwi'n falch iawn i weld Hayley Jones yma y bore yma yn cynrychioli gwasanaeth prydau ysgol. Mae hi wedi sgwennu yn atodiad 1. Mae yna bwysau ariannol sylweddol sydd ar y gwasanaeth ar hyn o bryd. A'i dibyniaeth ar incwm o werthu diodydd mewn plateli plastig mwyn darparu prydau, meithlon a chost effeithiol i'r disgyblion. Pwysau ychwanegol ar y gorwel i'r gwasanaeth o ganlyniad i'r gofyniad i ddarparu prydau ysgol am ddim i bob disgybl yn yr ysgolion cynradd yn cymlethu'r pethau ymhellach. Ac mi welwch chi yn atodiad 1 bod un ysgol uwchradd wedi trio'i gorau i beidio defnyddio y defnyddiau yma, sef ysgol GWARED. A dwi yn ddiolchgar iawn i'r pennaeth a'r llywodraethwyr am eu hymdrech yn hyn o beth, y brwdfrydedd maen nhw wedi codi. A dwi'n siŵr bod nhw i fod yn siomedig yn penderfyniad y pwyllgor craffu yma sydd yn cael ei gyflwyno gennai heddiw. A daeth drwy y drafodaeth fod y pwysau ariannol a staffio ar y gwasanaeth, cyfyngiadau o ran amser i ddarparu bwyd ac mewn rhai ysgolion diffyg lle yn y ffreiti. Gofyngiadau ychwanegol yn y dyfodol ynghyd â'r angen i addysgu rhai disgyblion i ddychwelyd eu cyllyll, ffyrcs ac ati yn gwneud un amhosibl ar hyn o bryd i allu lleihau dibyniaeth y gwasanaeth ar y ddefnyddiau nad oes modd ei hailgylchu. Ac o ganlyniad i leihau ôl-traed carbon y gwasanaeth tra'n paratoi prydau meithlon ond fforddiadwy i'r disgyblion. Doedd y pwyllgor ddim yn amau ymrwymiad y gwasanaeth i geisio lleihau ei defnydd o ddefnyddiau nad oes modd ei hailgylchu neu ei leihau ôl-traed carbon. Roedd yn cydnabod y rheidrwydd iddynt ddarparu gwasanaeth hyfyw ac o ganlyniad teimlad roedd y dylai gofyn i'r cabinet gysylltu a Llywodraeth Cymru ei geisiau cefnogaeth i gyrraedd y nod o leihau gwastraff plastig a lleihau carbon ar raddfa genedlaethol, tra ar y pryd yn sicrhau gwasanaeth hyfyw a fforddiadwy. Y teimlad oedd y dylai'r ymgyrch ar nod gael ei arwain yn genedlaethol. Felly o ran y pwyllgor craffu Mr Arweinydd, craffu perfformiad, rwy'n gwneud cais ffurfiol ger eich bron chi cabinet, bod y cabinet o ran y cyngor arweinydd yn ysgrifennu at Lywodraeth Cymru yn gofyn iddynt weithio gyda awdurdodau lleol ledled Cymru mewn ymgais i leihau a dileu'r arfer o ddefnyddio plastigion un tro a defnyddiau, nad oes modd ei hailgylchu wrth gyflewni paratoi a gweini prydau ysgol a darparu adnoddau ariannol digonol i bob awdurdod lleol i'w galluogi i wireddu'r amcanion uchod a hwyluso mesurau lleihau carbon o fewn gwasanaethau arlwyo ysgolion, gan sicrhau darpariaeth gwasanaeth prydau ysgol cynaladwy. Diolch yn fawr iawn chi, dwi wedi rhoi y cynnig ar eich bron chi. Diolch.
Diolch Arwel am yr adroddiad yna, a hefyd am y gwaith ar i'r pwyllgor wneud. Ac mae dda gweld bod bobl ifanc yn cael llais o fewn y sir trwy'r pwyllgor yna, pwyllgor craffu reit drwodd i'r cabinet, a dyna beth ddyle i bod fel rili, y pen da ni'n edrych ar pethau sy'n mynd i cael effaith mawr arnyn nhw yn y dyfodol. So diolch am hwnna Arwel. Ond aelodau o'r cabinet yna yn y trafodaeth, dwi'n dall am ei gofyn wrth Huw ddod i fewn rwan. Huw, please.
Diolch Cadeirydd, a hefyd diolch i Arwel. I think Arwel's really covered the details of the reflection of the meeting and the discussions that we had on the day. And it's one of these very difficult things that we want to do the right thing by reducing the use of plastics. And Arwel referred to the trial that we did in Ysgol Glan-Clwyd, and I'd like to thank the school for that. They trialled it just for cabinet's information, really. They trialled it from the 1st of September 2021 to the 22nd of December 21. And during this period, they stopped selling drinks in single-use plastics during the trial. The net income from the sales of drinks in Ysgol Clwyd during that period actually reduced by £506 per week, which is 20,000 pro rata during the period of the trial. So compared to the same period in 2019. So if we look at that across our systems, across the whole of the catering, it would reflect in a net income loss of 129,000 per year. And in order to facilitate the trial, the school had to purchase reusable drink cups, and cups were not being returned. Ysgol Clwyd purchased another 1,000 cups in the October. So the total cost of the cups was 2,160 anyway. And with only 250 of the 2,000 cups remaining now. So there is a real challenge around the finances and doing that. So just to cover the cost of cups, it would be £37,000 a year. So there's a lot of costs building in. And further with that as well is that the increase in staffing to facilitate not having plastic would mean an extra hour and a half per day to decant and set up the drinks. So you're talking about another £30,000 a year as well. So I think what we're saying is the ambition and the drive is here in Denbighshire, but obviously it is harnessed by the finance that we have and the model. Further also, we need to be mindful that with junior schools, with the new introduction of all children having a meal in schools, this is likely to change school meals in all schools, which is roughly around the 50% mark. And Hayley will correct me if I'm wrong here, but that's probably going to step up to about 85%. So we're going to need more space, more area to feed, more cooking space. So there's a lot of challenges around that coming forward as well. So I fully support that we ask Welsh Government, because we need that financial support to be able to deliver a plastic-free in our canteen. So yeah, I totally agree with the discussion as it went at Cabinet.
Thank you, Hugh, for that. So from what you're saying, the groundwork has been done for understanding what the level of investment required is, hence the recommendations from scrutiny that we send it to Welsh Governments for additional resource to do that. Okay, that's clear. Thank you for that, Hugh. Julian?
Yeah, thank you very much, Leader. Just to add to Hugh's comments, I think obviously we all would agree with the underlying sentiments, but below the reasoning behind that. It's something that we probably would need to do, but for all the reasons that, to be fair, the report has detailed and Hugh has just been through. This is not a very straightforward decision to actually take, and certainly probably is not one that we could take unilaterally. I think it is something that we should be engaging with Welsh Government on, and through the WLGA to put forward a united position from the local government family in Wales to Welsh Government, because it's as we say, it's not just about plastics. The entire structure around delivering school meals is going to change, and going to change quite dramatically in the coming years, with the bringing in of the universal school meal, should we say, for primary schools, as has been highlighted. That will definitely impact on the current model of delivering school meals in terms of its viability and sustainability. So I think we need to have an holistic approach, which should encompass reducing, with the aim to removing the single-use plastics within the wider context. So I very much support the principle. I very much support the idea that we should be lobbying Welsh Government. I would extend that to actually going via our colleagues in the Welsh Local Government Association in order to try and get an all Wales position with regards to this. But it isn't a straightforward one, and it is one that, were we just to do this unilaterally, could for all the grounds that have been highlighted be quite costly and actually work out to make the service as it stands at the moment, unviable to deliver. So I think that's all I need to say. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Julian. Are there comments from cabinet members? Brian, did you want to come in?
Oh, it'd be rude not to. Yeah, I was disappointed at the scrutiny that the pupils from us school, Dennis Brown, they were disappointed, and I think that's a key. It was a key point from the meeting. I'm not sitting here saying I've got all the solutions or any solutions, but we must carry on harnessing in the younger element. If it comes from places like us called Dennis Brown, they need to be involved. We need to have the communication on a regular basis with those sort of sectors, because at the end of the day, we keep saying it, they are the future. And it was, I'll say it again, disappointing for me to see that they were disappointing the day of the scrutiny meeting.
For that, Brian. Tony, from your perspective, Tony Ward, have you any thoughts on the work that's gone into this?
Yeah, Pawb, thanks, Leader. Yeah, I, as I said at the scrutiny meeting, I completely understand the frustration of the students who attended the meeting and of some schools that have been engaged in working with in relation to this issue. There's obviously a danger that our current
Tony,
inability.
sorry, we can't hear you very well. Do you mind putting the screen off, please?
Thank you. Is that any better?
That sounds better, yeah.
Yeah, okay. As I said, I understand the frustration and disappointment of the students and some of the schools who would like us to be able to move this agenda forward a lot more quickly. Of course, we would like to do that as well. There's a danger that our inability to deal with this issue imminently comes across as, that we don't care about this agenda. And of course we do. As a council, we've been really clear about our environmental ambitions, and we really do want to find a solution to this issue. As for all the reasons that have been already discussed today and highlighted in the report, it's a real challenge, and Julian's right, this is not an easy one. We do need to find a solution to this, particularly in the next few years. We need to achieve our ambitions by 2030. The one thing that I would highlight again, as Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts already mentioned, is the huge amount of work that needs to go on in the next couple of years around this universal free school meal offer in primary schools. Until that announcement was made, this plastic agenda was the biggest issue that the catering service was having to deal with over and above the kind of normal day job, if you like, of providing meals for pupils. Now that we have got to respond to this universal free school meal offer, the team is absolutely 100% focused on trying to find solutions to that challenge. And that is a really, really complicated project and a really difficult thing to be able to deliver. So I would just like to highlight it as kind of a word of warning, if you like, that the capacity to be able to focus on this plastic issue for the next 12 months is going to be severely limited by the amount of work that the service is going to need to do to respond to the universal free school meal offer. That doesn't mean that we don't care about this issue, or that we're saying that we're gonna, we're not gonna talk about it or not try to, continue the discussion. The primary focus of the service over the next 12 months or so has got to be the universal free school meal offer, and it will limit our ability to address this issue in the near future, which again is going to be frustrating for everybody, including ourselves. But as myself and Hayley, Hayley's with us as well today, so we're obviously here to kind of answer questions or add to the debate where we can. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Tony, for that. I'm picking up some frustration in terms of what we can achieve with this, but it still shouldn't stop us from trying to drive things forward. And I was just wondering with who the lead member, if you'd consider in terms of the recommendations, that we have a different type of recommendation instead of going straight to Welsh governments, that we get the local authorities together through the WLGA. Would that be something that could be considered?
Yeah, I think there'll be a positive in that, because you'd be bringing a stronger voice collectively across Wales, and then making representation to Welsh government. I think it would be, because what I forgot to mention before is we've done a piece of work that actually to accommodate the trial that we had in Glenclwyd in all schools, if that was the process, would be about £200,000 cost investment in buildings as well, because for this lack of space and facilities. But I think, you know, as Tony says, the trial in Glenclwyd, I don't want it to come over as something negative. It's just the reality of the challenges that we need to have. And I know that the head of Glenclwyd has written to me and says they intend to never going back to the old way of working, and they're trying to do whatever they can, and we obviously will work with them. So I think if we can collectively get to a position, because there is an appetite to be plastic free. I mean, you know, it really is. However, it's like everybody wants an eco town, and they'll all say yes in a survey, but if you tell them that council tax is going up £500, they might think about it a bit different. And that's the challenges we've got here. So yeah, happy. I think the WLGA may be a stronger voice going forward, and to have it on their agenda. Diolch.
So would you like Gary just to word the recommendation differently to incorporate the WLGA into that?
I think if Gary is able to do that, yeah, please.
Okay, you haven't been asked that for quite a while, Gary, have you? Okay, that's good. Okay, back to old habits. Thank you, Hugh, for that. Bobby?
Hi, yes, morning everyone. I was just wondering, in the light of what Tony was saying about well, I guess it was about the expense of free school meals, which is an agreement between Plaid Cymru and the Labour government. Could we not go one step further and incorporate that as an ideal moment to review how we deliver our school meals in terms of plastic? Would it not be, could they not be linked together in some way, extended, if you like? I don't know.
I think the issue we've got, the free, no, sorry, all children under the age of 11 being fed for nothing in schools is in primary schools. The challenge, the bigger challenge around plastics is in secondary schools. Okay, so therefore, the issue is in secondary schools around plastics more. In essence, we can control it more in primary schools because of the way it works, where you have like snack bars and different things in high schools. Are you with me? So it's a different delivery service, really.
Yep.
So that's the challenge.
I do see what you mean, but as they've gone as far as looking into giving free school meals for primary school children, you know, wouldn't it be a good idea to look at the plastic issue at the same time? You know, look upon it as, yes, one expense rather than two expenses, because they're doing it all at the same time. It's just a thought.
Tony, did you want to come back on anything?
Sorry, Hugh, I was really just going to make the same point that Hugh's already made. You know, the free school meal issue is obviously a primary school issue. The plastic issue is predominantly a secondary school issue, because it's primarily about the sale of drinks in plastic bottles, and that's the issue. But I also accept kind of the point that Bobby made, that if we, you know, it could be raised as the same point. We're obviously in discussions with Welsh Government around the universal free school meal offer separately, but they are really two separate issues.
Okay, Hayley, did you want to add anything to?
Morning, everybody. No, just to reiterate what Tony was saying, they're completely separate agendas, where the plastics is all in secondary schools, because we do not sell drinks separately in primary schools, so it's predominantly in the secondary schools.
Okay.
I do appreciate that, but the reason I brought it up was because of Tony bringing up the cost of doing it and how it's going to be covered, and I thought they're both going to be costs and how they're going to be covered, isn't it? So whether the government could look at them in the same terms.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Mark?
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Just a points. So the County Council did have a motion on this in 2018 July about reducing its plastics use. So how does that fit into that? Because a commitment was voted on and agreed. So are we or aren't we? There seems to be an issue about funding and the cost. I thought we did allocate some funding for this sort of work. So doesn't that stretch to here? So the motion and the funding, can we cover them 2 points, please?
Yeah, I think as far as the service, the reduction of plastics has been a massive shift. This is just one element that we can. You know, there's certain other things we can, but the majority. I mean, Tony and Hayley will give me the information on the stats. But we have every one of our schools' meal service. We are looking at reduction of plastics wherever we can. But you know, the bottom line on this is that the council have to fund it if we wanted to go completely plastic free. So you're talking about over 400,000 because you're losing the income of 220 and you're nearly 200,000 for the cost to change the system. So it would either the council do it, you'd have to either increase school meals prices to cover the cost, or you have to pass the costs on to the school. And you know, we've had conversations with head teachers that have been keen to do it, and then when they understand the cost, they've had to reevaluate their thought process. So what we're saying is, Welsh Government, if you'd help us, we'll do it, and that's what we're asking for. But you know, in a time where we've got cuts left, right, and centre, to find 400,000 is a challenge right now.
The answer to your question is because we did push this and pass it in full council. We have progressed a lot of other things in it, but the complexity of this is making it really difficult. That's why the LLJ collectively could help us move it forward to the next tier. And also it is aligned to Welsh Government's priority as well, isn't it, with the climate change agenda. So hopefully it is, the recommendations are nearly the right ones to get us to a better place.
So just finally then, some of the money we have allocated for the environment, none of that can be used here then?
Aware of for this particular, because of the scale of cost required for this one, we wouldn't be able to allocate to complete this to bring it to the fruition it needs, from my understanding.
Chair, if I could just come in on the financing. Obviously, we allocated as part of this year's budget, well, last year's budget round and this year's budget round, some revenue funding to support, primarily to support potential borrowing for the wider carbon zero initiatives. I mean, the numbers that are being talked about for this would more than take the entire amount of the revenue funding that's actually available, that was allocated within that, which would mean that we wouldn't be able to do any of the works to buildings, to fleet, or any of the other strands of the plan that we'd already agreed. So certainly for the agreed budgets already, it wouldn't suit for this. In future years, budget rounds, it may well be that we will need to be putting in a pressure generally for the school meal service by the sounds of things because of the changes that are going to be taking place. But we might need to be putting additional funding in place for the specific area as well. But that would have to be a decision for a future budget round. There's nothing in the current budget that would be able to pick up this sort of level of funding.
That's clear. Thank you, Julian, for that. Okay, Mike. Yeah.
No, and it's great work, and thanks for that, Julian. You're talking about.
Okay, Hayley, did you want to come back on that?
Thank you. Just to say that to eradicate the sale of drinks, because lots of schools don't want to go to cans because it's defeating the object, we would need a subsidy of £220,000 per year ongoing. So that would be to eradicate all plastic and the sale of, to stop selling drinks in secondary schools. And again, as it's already been brought up this morning, as if that's partly funded or if we put part of the cost onto parents. Schools have issues with pupils currently not being able to afford meals under the current economic pressures that they're already facing. So as a service, there are multiple ways of looking at this, and each of the secondary schools has their own take on it. Glenclwyd is adamant that they will not be returning to the sale of plastic drinks. They've subsequently bought another 1,000 cups. of which out of 3,000 now, we only have 500 left. It's working in some ways, but not in others. So it's just, as you know, as an authority, how do we want to move with this? From a universal free school meals point of view, we as a service currently don't know what funding we will be getting to deliver this rollout from September. So it's not knowing whether it's the delivery of free school meals to all primary school children is going to be a further burden or a pressure to the authority at this moment in time.
Thank you for that. That's it from cabinet members for now, is it? Yeah. Emrys, Wyn, please.
Ie, diolch yn fawr iawn chi. Pan baswyd yr cynnig yma nôl yn 2018, mi roedden ni yn canolbwyntio ar ddwy agwedd mewn gwirionedd. Ar agwedd cyntaf, a'r hawsa i ddelio efo oedd lleihau neu cael gwared o defnydd o blastig un tro o fewn swyddfeydd y cyngor. A mae rheini sydd yn eistedd yn y cyngor heddiw yn gallu gweld y gwahaniaeth yn syth. Does e ddim peiriannau yna i ddarparu coffi ar y cyfer chi pan gael egwyl. Fydd e ddim cwpanau plastig yna ar gyfer cael diod o ddŵr neu diod o goffi. Oedd hwnna'n gymharol hawdd yn sicr o'r gymharu ar hyn sy'n wynebu ni gyda gwasanaeth ARLWYO cinio ysgol ag ati. Rwan, mae gen i, mi roedden ni yn ymwybodol iawn o'r heriau yma pen ddaethon ni ar rhan yma i mewn i'r drafodaeth. Ac wrth gwrs oedd yn dod rwan, oedd y grŵp tasg a gorffen yna wedi darfod o ran yn gwaith ni fel grŵp tasg a gorffen yn ni'n gadeirio yna fo. Ond mae'r grŵp ar gyfwn hinsawdd felly yn delio hwn. Mae'r argyfwng dal gyda ni. Ac mae rhaid i ni bod yn parhau i weithredu hynny. Gael ofyn nifer y gwestiynau. Dyn chi wedi sôn yn yr adroddiad am 2,000 o gwpanau plastig yn lleihau i 250, a dyn ni wedi clywed rwan 3,000 wedi mynd lawr i 500. Oes yna rhyw fath ymchwiliad wedi cael ei wneud yn ysgol Glan Clwyd, mae'r ysgol lle sy'n gwneud hwn ar y bryd. Oes yna unrhyw ymchwiliad wedi cael ei wneud i ffeindio allan ble mae'r gwpanau plastig yma wedi mynd? Fi'n yn gofyn i bobl edrych i fewn i biniau gweithio felly, ond mi fas yna arolwg yr hwyled, dwi'n siŵr wrth glirio'r ysgol bod yna bosib gweld i ba gyfeiriad mae'r cwpanau yma wedi mynd. Pam cwpanau plastig? Mi'n mynd i ddangos i chi. Mae hwn, y cwpan yma, fedrwch chi gompostio hwn yn llwyr. Y caead, y cwbl. Reit? Dwi'n gwybod os ydy'n rhatach neu'n rhatach a chwpan plastig. Oes modd i ysgolion sydd ddim bych pe maen nhw yn defnyddio gwpanau plastig un tro i fynd yn ôl at gwpanau mwy cynaladwy. Reit, dyna'r cyntaf, cwestiwn cyntaf am y cwpanau. Ffreitur anaddas, mae hwnna'n cael ei ddeud yn adroddiad o hyd. Dyn ni wedi cael ysgolion newydd yn Sir Ddinbych dros y 5... Ie?
Dyn ni wedi archwilio hwn, dyn ni eisiau swp y cwestiynau arno fo eto.
O beth wedi wneud, neu sylwadau?
Na, lle ni'n gofyn, dim pwyllgor archwiliad i hwn, dyn ni'n gofyn swp y cwestiynau eto, mae'r argymhellion yn eitha clir.
Ie.
A mae'r gwybodaeth yna, ond fwy'r allwyd heili rhoi'r ateb i'r cwestiwn cyntaf ti gofyn.
Reit, oce.
Lle ni'n jyst archwilio fo eto, mae'r gwaith yna wedi wneud, rhaid ni derbyn hynny. So, os ni'n jyst...
Dwi'n trio troi'n sylwadau'n gwestiynau gadeirydd, ond mi na i fod yn...
Ydy'r cwestiwn... Ond ydy heini wedi cael ei gofyn yn pwyllgor archwilio?
Nac den.
Wel, dyle bod nhw wedi cael ei gofyn yn pwyllgor archwilio. A ni ffocysio ar yr argymhellion yma, Emrys.
Ie, o reit. O, diolch. Do
you want to respond to Emrys's first question there, please?
Thank you. The cups have been found in St Asaph Park, they've been found in neighbouring houses, they've been found smashed on the field, they've been found smashed on the playground, and I'm sure lots of them must go home or end up in a bin somewhere. We have no idea really. We've got staff wandering around school continuously looking, because we're a dual service with catering and cleaning. We've got the cleaning staff that look around the school in the evenings to see if they've got any that they can return to the dining room. So there's a variety of places that I'm sure that these cups, and it is pretty obvious that these cups are reusable cups. They're a sustainable hard plastic. that you would you can tell are to be reused.
Diolch yn fawr. Rwy'n mi roi gynnau gwestiynau am y ffaith o dys ddim lle addas i fyta'n ysgol. Mae gynnau gwestiynau am y ffaith ydyn ni'n cludo bwyd o bell i'r ysgolion, nid o'n gael yn lleol. A wedyn, o'n i'n mynd i gyplysu y busnes yma o bobl yn taflu cwpanau, bod rhaid i ni barhau i addysgu ein disgyblion i ailgylchu a gael ddefnyddio. Mae'n ymddangos a fedra i ddim gwneud hynny. Dwi ddim yn anghytuno ar ddau argymhelliad eich chi'n ei roi, ond ni'n mynd i awgrymu trydydd argymhelliad. Eich chi di ymylu ar wneud hynny'n barod, cadeirydd, ond bod ni ddim yn cael drws fel y sir ar yr awydd yma, neu'r dymuniad yma, i fedru cyrraedd y nod o gael gwared neu sicr o leihau defnydd o blastig un tro yn ein hysgolion, a bod ni'n parhau ar chwilio hynny ac i addysgu'n disgyblion i wneud hynny. Fi'n meddwl bod y cynnig chi'n data'r WLGA yn gam i'r cyfeiriad yna, ond mae dwi'n wneud y hefyd yn neis at yn traed hefyd yma sy'n ymdych.
Erbyn nhw, diolch am hwnna Emrys, a dyna disgwyliadau allan o'r adroddiad yma, bod ni'n cario'r trafodaeth ymlaen, bod o'n gymleth, bod ni dal di sticio'r agenda ar y cychwyn, bod ni eisiau cwblhau hwn, bod ni'n mynd i fod yn mwy anodd na ni'n meddwl ar y cychwyn. Ond dyna be mae'r argymhellion yma'n gadael ni wneud symud i'r lefel nesaf. Oce, diolch am hwnna. Arwel, o ti eisiau dod yn ôl, please?
Oes, diolch yn fawr. Yn gyntaf, ga i ddeud bod y pwyllgor craffu fel cadeirydd, a dwi'n siŵr sa'r rhiad yn cytuno bod ni wedi anfon gair o ddiolch i'r o lanc ddoth o ysgol Dinas Bran ac oedden nhw'n gofyn cwestiynau call. A nhw wedi dyfodol fel oedd y cynghorydd Brian Jones yn dweud. Ac hefyd, mi ddylswn ni ofyn, a ydych chi am mwy gefnogaeth i ysgol Glanglwyd? Maen nhw wedi rhoi cychwyn da i hyn, a dwi wedi cael ffôn gan un o'r llywodraethwyr, a di'n cadeirydd yr llywodraethwyr ysgol Glanglwyd, yn dangos bod nhw'n siomedig nad ydyn ni falle yn gallu helpu mwy arnyn nhw, ydy heili yn gallu gwneud chwaneg o waith yna, a rhai argymhellion ar ei Emrys Wyn roi ger bron, ydy hynna yn gallu ei wneud yn ychwanegol. A hefyd ddoi neithiwr, oeddwn ni'n cwmni Llyr Hughes Griffith. Mae Llyr Hughes Griffith yn aelod dros Gogledd Cymru, lawr yn y Senedd yng Nghymru, a mae o'n cadeirio pwyllgor sy'n delio hefo defnydd o garbon a ecoleg, ac mae o'n gwybod am y cynnig yma sydd yn ger eich bron chi heddiw cabinet. Felly mae yna bwysau yn cael ei roi yn barod ar Llywodraeth Cymru i ddelio efo'r mater yma fel un gwlad, a dyna ydy dylsan ni wneud ar ôl y cyfarfod yma. A dwi'n cytuno efo'r ail gynnig ger bron gan Julian. Diolch yn fawr.
Barry, please.
Hello, is that me? Yeah.
Yes, Barry Mellor.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you. I think as a council, you know, we've got to realise we can't do everything all of the time. And I understand we've passed the motion to turn plastic by 2030. I think it's a great idea to bring in the WLGA.
Sorry, do you mind putting the screen off?
Yeah, go on, mate.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I think it's a great idea working with the WLGA, because I think we're missing a point here. I think we should be challenging the Welsh Government to challenge the contractors who are bringing these drinks and selling these drinks to the schools. And I think we should be challenging those contractors to put them in reusable bottles. So, you know, it's got to start somewhere. The pressure can't go on education all the while. Education under a great deal of pressure as it is. So I think through the WLGA that we should put pressure on the Welsh Government to deal with the companies that are selling the drinks to us in the first place. And just another thing, where schools are supplying these cups and they're going missing, why not put a 50p deposit on them? I'm sure they come back then. Thanks very much.
Barry for that. Meirig, please.
Diolch yn fawr eto. Wel, gan mae'r cabinet sydd yn gallu trin hwn nawr, dwi'n meddwl bod mond teg i chi dderbyn syniadau rhai ohono ni, dwi'n meddwl, gyda phob parch, a dwi'n meddwl bod defnyddio'r Gymdeithas Llywodraeth Leol yn un da. Ond beth am ddod o ochr wahanol hefyd ac i'w raidd y broblem, ar ran tegwch i'r sir, yn unig ffordd daw diwedd ar blastig un defnydd yw i lywodraeth ganolog newid cyfraith gwlad i wahardd y cynhyrchiad o'r plastig un defnydd. Yn y lle cyntaf, am byth, a'r cynhyrchwyr wedyn ddim yn gallu defnyddio plastig sydd yn waharddiedig. Beth am lythyr trwy'r aelod seneddol Lloegr y sir i newid deddfwriaeth ynglŷn â cynhyrchu plastig un tro trwy Brydain, gofyn iddyn nhw wneud. Dyna'r unig ffordd. Dyna sut ydych chi wneud i ffwrdd â smygu ac hefyd asbestos. A os ydych chi'n anfon at y Cymdeithas Llywodraeth Leol Cymru, gofynnwch iddyn nhw hefyd anfon at Lloegr, LGA, a gofyn iddyn nhw roi pwysau ar Llywodraeth Lloegr. Os wnewch chi edrych ar blastig un tro sy'n dod i'ch cartre ac am ei gwahardd, buasach yn analluog i brynu rhai bwydydd. Ond nid yw diodydd mewn tin aluminium a dyr yn ailgylchu a bod modd gwerthu heini, neu ydy'r cynnwys wrach yn waharddiedig. Diolch o fawr iawn.
Diolch, Meirig, y fanna. Ylun ar llythyr neu symud o ymlaen o Cymru. Dwi'n meddwl bod ni'n barod am hynny ar y funud, bod y sylwadau yn eitha teg mewn un ffordd. Mae hwn mor gymleth yn lleol i ni o fewn y sir bod da ni eisiau cymorth y WLG a Llywodraeth Cymru yn gyntaf, sy'n ni'n awgrymu cyn lle ni symud ymlaen. A hefyd jyst i aelodau bod y cabinet dim ond yn trafod ar amgymhellion sydd wedi dod o'r pwyllgor archwilio. A dyna be, da ni'n eisiau colli be mae'r pwyllgor archwilio wedi rhoi ger bron ni heddiw, efo mwy o pethau ychwanegol ddyle bod wedi cael ei trafod yn y pwyllgor enau beth bynnag os gael fod yn deg a ddeud hynny. Mae'n pwysig, os mae pwyllgor archwilio yn rhoi rhywbeth ger yn bron ni, bod ni'n ffocwsio ar be maen nhw'n wneud a sticio i hwnna. A wedyn, os mae'n rhywbeth arall ychwanegol, bod o'n mynd yn ôl i pwyllgor archwilio i ddod yn ôl i fama. Oce, sy'n aelodau eraill eisiau siarad, please? Nagwe? Reit, dim mwy o cwestiynau. Oce. Gary, lle jyst gofyn wrthych chi jyst i roed yr argymhellion mewn ffordd gwahanol a gofyn wrth Arwel os mae'n cytuno wedyn, please?
Okay, diolch, Arweinydd. Yes, the proposal was that there be mention of writing to the WLGA, so it may well be that the simplest way to do it is to leave the recommendations as they are, but add a recommendation 3.3, that the Cabinet, on behalf of the Council, writes to the Welsh Local Government Association seeking their support in lobbying Welsh Government to progress the measures set out in 3.1 and 3.2 above.
Thank you. Arwel, ti'n hapus efo hwnna?
Dwi'n gweld bod llaw Hayley a Tony Ward i fyny, Mr Arweinydd.
Just ar y cwestiwn, y pwynt be mae Gary, yr argymhellion ychwanegol, wyt ti'n hapus efo'r pwynt 3.3?
O, dwi'n ddiolchgar iawn i Julian am gynnig yna. Ie, cytuno 100%.
Okay, diolch am hwnna, Arwel. Right, Hayley, did you want to come back on anything that was said, please?
Yeah, thanks. So just a couple of points I wanted to come back on, things that have been raised. There was mention before of, other things that we can do or have done, and obviously that's detailed in the report. If you look at paragraphs 4.8 through to 4.11, it documents what we've already done in the catering service to address the issue of single-use plastic. And I think, as somebody mentioned earlier on, I think it was Councillor Hugh Hilditch-Roberts, we've kind of done what we can, and the remaining issue is the difficult one, which is the sale of drinks in single-use plastic containers, because, as you say, that's what the business model is based on. So in some ways, although it's a difficult one to crack, the issue is quite straightforward. It's a financial issue. That's at the end of the day. Our inability to address this relatively straightforwardly is based on a financial problem. It was mentioned before about continuing to work with GWARED, who are obviously really keen to progress this agenda, and as Hayley said before, do not want to return to the sale of drinks following the trial that has taken place. Again, the issue there is a financial one. As it's highlighted in the report, it would cost £20,000 a year for that trial to be rolled out in Glenclwyd alone all year round. So the question therefore is, where does that £20,000 come from in order to continue or to make that trial a permanent feature in Glenclwyd? Would that be provided by the council? Would it be provided by the school? That's a question that would need to be addressed, because as a service currently, we haven't got that £20,000 to enable Glenclwyd to continue with the trial on a permanent basis. So, we can carry on talking to Glenclwyd about this, but we can't actually resolve the problem because we don't have that £20,000. So the discussion would have to be about where that money comes from to be able to continue with it. But obviously, we're in regular contact with the school, in discussion with them, and Hayley, I think, has had meetings with the school this week on this issue. But that's just what I wanted to say, really. But Hayley, I don't know if you have anything to add.
Thank you, Tony. So that conversation continues. It's not for Cabinet to decide on that today, but that conversation will continue with Glenclwyd, won't it?
It will, yes.
Okay, thank you. So I'll ask you now just to take us through the... Gwyneth, o ti eisiau dod yn ôl efo cwestiwn?
Ia, os yn bosib, diolch yn fawr. Pa fath o ddiodydd da ni'n sôn amdanyn nhw fan hyn? Achos teimlo dwi'n hollol dall bod hon yn sefyllfa amhosib i'r cyngor. Ond os melys, caffeinated ac yn y blaen mwyn gwneud pres, yn iach.
Gwyneth, lle di roed y sgwrs i ffwrdd, please? Da ni'n clywed ti'n dda iawn.
Mae'n ddrwg gen i, trian i hynna. Ia, cwestiwn oedd gen i, pa fath o ddiodydd oedd yn cael ei gwerthu? Achos os da ni'n gwerthu diodydd melys, caffeinated ac yn y blaen, mwyn gwneud digon o elw i fwydo'r plant yn iach, mae hynna braidd yn gwrthwneud i gilydd. Ac os ydym ni'n mynd â hyn i Llywodraeth Cymru neu beth bynnag, dwi'n meddwl lle dylai bod ni'n codi hynny hefyd, na ddylai gwasanaethau bwyd cyngor ddim gorfod dibynnu ar werthu diodydd melys mwyn gallu fforddio bwydo plant yn iach.
Safon y bwyd neu beth sy'n y bwyd yn agenda gwahanol i beth ni eisiau trafod heddiw, Gwyneth, dwi'n anghytuno fo ti, ond dio ddim i'r adroddiad yma na i'r argymhellion, ond mae hwnna'n sgwrs arall dwi'n meddwl sydd angen. Ond fwrach sa Hayley medru rhoi ateb i ti ar y cwestiwn penodol o ti'n gofyn?
Diolch.
Thank you. In relation to the drink sales, we are restricted by Welsh Government under the Food in Schools nutritional guidelines as to what we can sell. So it's water, fruit-based, milk-based drinks. So there's no carbonated drinks, and that is part of the problem, that we can't source alternative drink suppliers because we're not permitted to have carbonated drinks, which are the huge manufacturers nationally and internationally that would be able to provide us with a vending system where pupils could decant themselves, but we're not permitted to purchase those types of drinks.
Okay, thank you, Hayley, for that. That's clear. Okay, we will now come to the
Sorry, ga I ddod I mewn?
Wel, da ni'n trio gorffen y trafodaeth, Emrys.
Ie. Gewch chi, dalio hwn fel licio chi. Mae gen i ofn gwirioneddol gweld hwn yn symud, y mater yma'n symud i Gaerdydd yn ytrach na chadw fo rhannol yn Sir Ddinbych hefyd. Dwi'n cynnig bod yna un cynnig arall, gewch chi drafod o, gewch chi wrthod os ydych chi eisiau, bod Cor Sir Ddinbych yn parhau I gydweithio gyda gwasanaeth arlwyo'r cyngor mwyn ceisio cyrraedd y nod o leihau'r defnydd o defnydd o ddefnyddiau un plastig un tro.
Diolch am Rhys, dwi'n meddwl bod ateb i hwnna, neu gofyn wrth yw ymateb i hwnna rwan.
Yeah, just to be off clear, to be totally clear, the ambition in the school catering department is to be plastic free and reduce carbon wherever we can. There is no shadow of a doubt that that is the ambition. So I want that minuted, please, just to be clear. What this paper is saying is there is an ongoing cost of 220,000 a year that we will lose in income, where we'd have to replace. So if you do the maths over a 10-year period, what that would be a hit to the council. And there is nearly a 200,000 cost of putting equipment and making buildings good. Okay, so what we're saying is, you could almost take this paper to say, actually, Welsh Government, give us that money and we will be plastic free on drinks tomorrow. That's what the message is. But at this moment in time, we can't put the cost in the school. We can't budget from essentially from the council, and we can't put more cost on parents during really difficult times. So this is why we're saying, Welsh Government, have you got some money? Help us be plastic free.
Can you take us through recommendations, please?
The recommendations is that the Cabinet, on behalf of the Council, write to Welsh Government, which are we going to change that to WLGA now, Gary? Okay. Okay. Yeah. So work with all the local authorities across Wales in a bid to reduce and eradicate the practice of using single-use plastic and non-recyclable goods in the supply, preparation and serving of school meals, and provide sufficient financial resource to all local authorities to enable them to realise the above objectives and facilitate carbon reduction measures within their school catering services whilst securing delivery of a sustainable school meal service.
3.3, I think, sets out what was proposed, is that the Cabinet, on behalf of Council, writes to the Welsh Local Government Association, seeking their support in lobbying Welsh Government to progress the measures set out in 3.1 and 3.2 above.
Okay, that's good. Happy, yeah.
Yeah, hapus.
Okay, hapus Arwel fo hynny, wan dweud? Diolch. Okay, iawn. We'll go to the vote. That's been proposed, seconded. Everyone in agreement? Nobody against? Okay, that's been moved. Thank you for that. Diolch yn fawr. Agenda item 6, Queen's Buildings Phase 1 Construction Contract Award. Julian, this is more in your domain. Could you take us through this, please?
Yes, of course, Chair. Hopefully this one is reasonably straightforward. Following on from the debate we had last month about the funding, this is purely about the letting of the Phase 1 construction contract. You'll see from the paper that we had previously utilised Wind Construction under a contract to take us up to the planning stage of the scheme. We've utilised lot 3 of the North Wales Construction Framework, which I'm sure you know we manage on behalf of North Wales authorities, to go for the to tender for the construction phase of Phase 1. The issue is slightly complicated by 2 factors. First of all, as I'm sure you're all aware, there was a tight timetable needed. We need to essentially get on site by the end of April at the absolute latest. There will be the final bits of work to actually check the tenders is still being undertaken. As the need to let this contract will fall outside of a cabinet meeting timetable now because of the elections. We are asking for permission for the decision to be taken on a delegated decision by the Chief Exec in consultation with the Section 151 officer and the monitoring officer. And if the decision is whilst the leader and myself are still in office, then in conjunction with us as well as the 2 relevant lead members. The second element is because of the tight nature of the letting of the contract in terms of the timescales, there are a number of areas where the contractor needs to make some early orders of materials and specialist contractors which have a really long lead-in time. That steelwork is one of the classic examples. So as part of the decision, we also need to agree that we would underwrite up to £500,000 of those upfront orders in order to allow them to place the order to get so that they can get on site in the required timescale, so that we don't endanger any of the external funding grants which are part of the funding makeup of that. In one respect, it's a very straightforward issue, but it's slightly complicated, as I say, by the elections and the tight timetables. Mark Dixon and Russell Vaughan are with us today. So I don't know whether either Russ or Mark have got anything they wanted to add to what I've said, or we can just go straight to questions.
Just to reinforce that those two aspects make this contract award different from the normal process, in that there is a delegation requested to fit in with the timeline for the Cabinet Forward Work Programme and the deadlines for completion of the works, and also the pre-ordering of certain items which Councillor Thompson-Hill's just referred to.
For that, okay, we'll open up for questions. Are there any questions from Cabinet members? It's quite difficult to have straightforward and complicated in the same sentence, but that does make sense to you. Cabinet members, okay, yeah? Okay, non-cabinet members, Mary, could you dod I fewn?
Chair, Brian's got his hand up, so in case you haven't seen this.
I missed you, sorry, Brian.
It's okay, let it ride now, it's okay, yeah, let it ride.
You okay, sorry about that. Okay, Mary, please.
Arweinydd. Ia, gofyn y garedig oeddwn ni, ydych chi wedi deall hyn, dwi'n siŵr, ond pen ydych chi'n siarad yn y siambar ymwneud eich gilydd, fel ateb rwy'n sydd wedi gofyn cwestiwn o'r llawr y siambar, dydyn ni ddim yn ei glywed o'n glir, achos dydy'r maic ddim yn cael ei agor gan yr un sy'n siarad. Rhywbeth at y dyfodol, mae'n siŵr y fydd o, ond mae hwnna wedi dod i'r golwg heddiw, a dydyn ni'n clywed pawb pe maen nhw'n ymateb. Os ydyn nhw yn y siambar di hynny, ddim os ydyn nhw ar y we.
Oce, diolch am hwnna. Gwnawn ni ystyried hwnna i tro nesaf, mae'n rhywbeth da ni wedi pigo fyny. Nw'n ni wneud siŵr bod ni'n cael o well i tro nesaf. Ar un i ddweud bod hwn di'r un cyntaf, a fach bod o ddim cweit yn iawn, ond ni'n gweithio arno fo. Oce, diolch am hwnna, Meirig. Sy'n e mwy o cwestiynau ar y agenda yma? Dim cwestiynau. Okay, Julian, do you want to take us through the recommendations?
Hello? Sorry, Chair, I couldn't hear you there. Were you asking me to give the recommendations then?
Yes, could you take us through the recommendations, please, Julian?
Yep, sorry. So the recommendations are 3.1. The Cabinet delegates authority to award a contract for the construction of phase 1 of the Queen's Building development to the preferred contractor to the Chief Executive in consultation with the Section 151 officer, monitoring officer and relevant lead members at the conclusion of the detailed design stage, providing the cost plan is within the overall envelope of affordability for the works. 3.2, the Cabinet approves the immediate implementation of the delegated decision due to the urgency to award a contract to allow works to commence on site as soon as possible to meet the grant funding deadlines. And 3.3, the Cabinet confirms it's read, understood and taken account of the wellbeing impact assessment.
Okay, that's been moved. I will second that. Cabinet members happy with the recommendations? Raise your hand. Nobody's against? No? Okay, that's been moved. Thank you, Julian, for putting that. Agenda item 7, renovation of terrace houses at 2 to 16 Aquarium Street, contract award. Gary, could you just give us a bit of advice on this one, please?
Yes, thank you, Leader. It's just to remind members that clearly we try and make these things as open and transparent as possible. So the report is in part 1. But the appendix 1 is in part 2 because it's got confidential commercial details there relating to unsuccessful suppliers. So if any members wanted to ask any detailed questions around appendix 1, we would need to move into part 2.
Okay, that's clear. Thank you. Tony, can you just...
Yeah, thank you, Leader. Yeah, this certainly has taken some time to get around to sorting out 2 to 18 Aquarium Street, but it's probably the last bit that needs sorting out in that area, because they've done some fantastic work there. The housing around there for young families and that, and the whole area looks really good. So very pleased on that, and this hopefully will complete the jigsaw, if you like. So it's back in 2019, Cabinet wished to appoint a contractor for this development. At that time, the estimated value was around about 2.15 million, and this was published on the South to Wales procurement portal. So it's taken some time to come to this now, but we've had 4 tenders. A full evaluation has gone on weighting, 70% on price, 30% on quality. The recommendations are in appendix 1. Costs, though, have gone up to 2.65 million, but I won't go too much on costs because I know Julian and Mark will say that. But just a little bit of history about that. We are going to be knocking down the outriggers at the back, because some of these houses were houses of multiple occupation, taking as much as 9 people at a time. So it's moving those on to, shall we say, family homes is going to be good for the area, good for the ethos, and I think I'm very pleased with the area. I see it regularly, and I think we've done a really good job, and this, shall we say, completes the picture. So thank you, Leader. I don't know if Julian wants to say something.
Thank you, Tony. Julian, did you want to add to that?
Yeah, the only thing I was going to add to that was just to highlight what Tony actually said there in his introduction about the fact that pretty much in line with all of the construction type contracts that we're bringing through at the moment, because of all of the issues that are well known, the cost of materials has grown absolutely out of all proportion over the last 12-18 months. Hopefully at some point it will settle, but we don't know when that's likely to be. And the contracts that are coming through at this point in time are inevitably going to be at a higher cost than had been originally indicated. There's everything's fully funded within this particular scheme, so there's no issues with regards to that. But it is just a flag up yet again that due to reasons outside of the authorities' control, some of these costs are going to be higher than we had originally planned for. But I fully support the recommendations.
Thank you, Julian. Mark, did you want to add anything?
Only to say that this really delivers one of the final elements of that West RHYL housing regeneration programme, and provided much needed affordable homes for local people, and also remove what's currently an eyesore blighting that area and detracting from the other work that's been done to date.
Okay, thank you all for that. Are there any questions from Cabinet members? Brian?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, to Mark Dixon, I suppose. Morning, Mark. And we just remind me, I think I'm correct in what I'm saying here, are we going to dispense with those ugly extensions that were added onto the backs of the properties, because that makes it look really yuck? I can see you nodding, so you've answered the question.
Okay, that's it. Thank you. Any other questions from Cabinet members? No? Yeah, Meirig?
Diolch, Marcus Arweinydd. Dim ond gobeithio ynde hefo hwn a fyddwn ni ddim yn mynd I fwy o ddyledion nes ymlaen, fel sydd wedi digwydd hefo un neu ddau arall o'r gwaith sydd yn yr HAILGYLCHU. Cyn belled bod chi'n hapus bod y cwmni da chi wedi bigo yn gallu wneud o am y pris, a fydden nhw ddim yn dod I mewn hefo ychwanegiadau nes ymlaen mewn rhyw 6 mis neu beth bynnag amser mae'r gwaith yn mynd I gymryd.
Feddai reit hapus efo hynny, ond dwi'n gobeithio, achos wrach a dydyn nhw'n mynd gwmni lleol, dydw i'm yn gwybod o le maen nhw'n dod, ond methu dall bod unrhyw gwmni sydd yn bell i ffwrdd yn medru, os ydyn nhw'n bell i ffwrdd, yn gallu prisio'n llai na'r bobl lleol. Diolch yn fawr.
Diolch, Meirig. Was there a question on it? Mark, did you want to respond to anything by Meirig?
Just to reinforce the fact that the company Anthony Diva Construction are based in Denbigh. I know they have other offices elsewhere, and they have done a lot of work for the council and other partners in the rural area. And the tenders are valid for a number of months after the closing date, so they're still valid at this point.
Okay, clear. Thank you, Mark, for that. Alan?
Thank you, Leader. Just to just add to what has already been said, really, it's the final puzzle in that that area that will be completed. It has been a bit of bone of contention. I have harassed Mark on numerous occasions about where we're up to over the last few years, and so thanks very much for putting up with that, Mark, and now finally starting the delivery. As I say, it is one of the bones of contention of people living in that area. On a very, very nice development most of the way around. That is the eyesore in that development. So congratulations to everybody, and we look forward to getting on with the project now and completing that. So thank you very much, everybody, and thank you, Leader, for the time.
Okay, thank you. No more questions are there from anyone? I don't see any hands up. Okay, Tony, can you take us to the recommendation, please?
Yes, thank you, Leader. So the recommendations, 3.1, that Cabinet approve the award of a contract to Anthony Diva Construction Limited as per the contract award recommendation report in Appendix 1. 3.2, that Cabinet confirms that it is read, understood and taken account of the wellbeing impact assessments, Appendix 2, as part of its consideration.
Thank you, Tony. That's been proposed. There a seconder? Bobby seconded that. Are Cabinet members all in favour? Nobody against? Okay. Thank you, Tony, for that. And we'll come to agenda item 8, which is the Cabinet's forward work plan. Gary, please.
Thank you, Leader. Members will see that there is, we had anticipated not having a Cabinet meeting in April, but there are some items of business that will need to be dealt with before the election. So we are now envisaging a Cabinet meeting in April. The date as yet is unconfirmed. We'll be working on members to firm up the date for that. Following that, the next Cabinet will be in the new council on the 7th of June.
Good for some. Very good. Okay, that's it. Any other one raise anything on the forward work plan? No. Okay, that's good. Thank you. That's the last agenda item. Diolch yn fawr i chi. And have a good day. Thank you.